My name is Diana Narvaez. My play is The Exonerated by Jessica Blank and Eric Jensen. Next, we have the synopsis. The Exonerated takes place on a bare stage. The entire play is performed by 10 actors using 10 simple armless chairs. The play is seamless. The actors act, enter, and exit without no intermission. This documentary play is essentially based on the true stories of 5 American men and 1 American woman. 3 of them are African American and 3 of them are white. The stories are based on the lives of Delbert Dibbs, Carrie Max Cook, Gary Geiger, David Keaton, Robert Earl Hayes, and Sonny Jacobs. These stories are based on interviews whom the playwrights collected out of 60 interviews. The Exonerated focuses on the arrest, imprisonments, exonerations, and releases of these 6 wrongly convicted individuals who were sentenced to death for crimes they did not commit in order to bring them fully to life. The playwrights incorporates case files of affidavits, dispositions, police interrogations, and court testimonies. The cases of these wrongly convicted individuals include misleading statements, misrepresentation by attorneys, and inclusive evidence. These plays show how can individuals be falsely accused, how they cope with years of imprisonment, and the injustice of our criminal justice system. Next, we have our characters. First, we have Delbert Dibbs. He's African American, 60 years old, a seminary dropout, a poet, and serves as the center of the play by singing and acts as the chorus. He was convicted and sentenced to death for 7 years for murder and rape, and later exonerated because evidence showed that he was not in town when the crime occurred. Delbert in prison had hope and faith. If not, he would be dead, and there would be no need to execute him. After being released, Delbert was numb, could not sleep or feel because in prison he was used to not feeling. Next, we have Sonny Jacobs. White and 50, along with her husband Jesse, they were both wrongfully convicted of double homicide for the murder of 2 police officers and sentenced to death row. Her husband was executed on death row. He lasted 13 minutes and a half. They had to pull the switch 3 times in order for him to be executed. She spent 17 years in prison, even though there was a confession to the crime and the court ignored it. During her imprisonment, Jessie and her wrote letters to each other, which she kept each and every one of them. She has 15 years worth of letters. Sonny did not want to waste her time being mad after being released. She refused to let her situation defeat her. She suffered a lot. Her parents died while she was in prison. Her kids grew without her, and she remembers how Jesse was executed and lasted 13 minutes and a half in order to die. She said that she had a second chance to live her life, and she was gonna take every minute of it and advantage of it. Next, we have Robert Earl Hayes, African American in his 30s and a horse groomer and married to Georgia. Robert spent 7 years on death row for the murder of a white woman. Robert always dreamed of the new trial, and he did get one, and was later exonerated when DNA evidence was found from the Caucasian attacker. During his imprisonment, he was harassed by a guard due to retaliation for signing a statement for another inmate because the guards were bullies. He also records hearing the buzz of the electric chair being tested weekly. Next, we have David Keaton, African American, 40 years old. At 18, he was forced and bullied into confessing to a murder and robbery, which he had not committed. He was so scared that he figured the truth would eventually come out one day, so he confessed. Throughout the play, he shows the love for God and the religious spirit he had in prison. Also, the struggle to regain hope and vaccination. After being released, David is trying to find himself. Next, we have Gary Gagger, white, 45 years old. He is a Midwestern hippie and organic farmer and married to Sue. Gary was convicted for the murder of his own parents and later exonerated when his lawyer finds out that there's a video with the confession of the motorcycle gang member who killed his parents. During his imprisonment, he kept to himself and taught himself embroidery. After being released, he did not want revenge for the murder of his parents, and he did not want the death penalty for both murderers. Next, we have Carrie Max Cook, white, 45 years old. Carrie is married to Sandra. He was convicted and sentenced to death for the murder of a woman. His lawyer was the former DA who jailed him twice before and didn't defend him correctly during the trial. Carrie spent 22 years in prison and still has the soul of a 19-year-old. Carrie was declared to be homosexual, which was not true, and due to those rumors that he was homosexual, he was raped in prison. He was released on DNA evidence, and the real murder was not charged. Carrie still has nightmares because of his imprisonment and wants to rediscover the world. Questions. So I have 2 questions for the class to discuss. Number 1 is, do you think that wrongly convicted individuals has to do with the basis of racial profiling? Number 2, do you think there should be a type of recompensation for these wrongly convicted individuals through resources and financially? Even though it will not give them back all those years incarcerated, but it can help them integrate back to society and continue with their lives. Thank you.